Hello, my name is Monique Lingle, and I'd like to start with one of my favorite Bible verses from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. So my devotion is about direction, and I want to start by talking about my husband, Ken. He hikes a lot. He almost always takes our dogs, Lily and Wink, with him, and it's not uncommon for him to be gone hours at a time. In the past couple of years, he's decided to hike Colorado's 14ers. And 14ers are mountains that are higher than 14,000 feet. There are 53 of them in Colorado, and so far he's done 4. He started with Quandary, which was supposed to be easy, and there was a sign at the trailhead that said, "There are no easy 14ers." He's also done Crays and Tories and another one I can't remember the name of. Our daughter Danielle has done a few of them with him as well. I can honestly tell you that I have not hiked a 14er, nor do I ever plan to. And I thought about that after I wrote it and thought, now wait, maybe if they put a Starbucks at the very top and I knew that there was a venti vanilla latte waiting for me, I might reconsider. But until then, I have a lot of other things to do. So Ken often talks about his experiences on these 14ers. He says there's bad times to hike and there are good times. And he's told me story after story about all these adventures. In the middle of summer, there can still be snow towards the top. And it can be nice out when you start, but then thunderstorms kick up, and before you know it, you're in the wind and the rain. You have to start out before dark so that you can get up and get back down in a given day. Oh my goodness. But when you get to the top, he says, you can see for miles and miles, and it's all worth it. And when you get down before dark, that's a really good day. Sometimes in the early spring, it might start to snow at the higher elevations, and you start to sink in that soft snow with every step. Or you might have such a windy day that you go to put your foot out in front of you, and before you know it, it's heading this way, and you have to physically grab it and pull it back just to take a step forward. This is why I am not hiking 14ers. Ken would say it's all a part of the journey. And he's told me about hiking for hours and hours and getting towards the top. And all of a sudden he hears something, he looks up and he realizes someone has scaled up the backside of the mountain, and they've come to the top, they've taken their skis off their backpack that they had on, they've put them on, they have some poles, and they go skiing by him. That's quite a vision, isn't it? So recently, Ken started wearing a compass on his wrist. I've been married to the man for 25 years. He's never worn a watch. And I thought, what does he have on? Is he starting to wear a watch? Well, no, he's wearing a compass. And Ken is a real gadget kind of guy. He's the guy with the hat with the LED light on it and the tool that does 20 different things. So I didn't think much of it. One day we were in the car just a few weeks ago, and he said, do you know why I'm wearing a compass and not a watch? And I said, no, why are you wearing a compass and not a watch? And he said, well, I've been thinking about it. Time is the same for all of us. It doesn't change. But with a compass, I realize I can change my direction. And I honestly thought, wow, that's really deep. And I said that to him, and he said, I know, I've been thinking about it a lot. So I appreciated that. So since then, Ken and I have been talking a lot about direction in a lot of different ways. And I want to share a story with you about a part of my direction. And I want you to think for yourself about the kinds of choices you've made in your life, those crossroad decisions. And have you ever looked back and thought, what if I'd have done this instead of this? What if I'd have moved here, or lived in this house, or taken that job, or gone to that school, or married that person? We all have these paths. We all have these directions that we take. So for me, in 1987, I was a recent grad with a bachelor's degree in social work from Colorado State University. and I fully thought that I had a direction all mapped out. I planned to move to Steamboat Springs and become a ski instructor, because of course that's what everyone does after they get a degree. They go off to do something really fun, right? My parents weren't so happy about that, but that's what I was going to do. At the urging of a professor, I applied for a position at Loveland Good Samaritan as the social worker. I thought, well, it'll be good to go through the interview process, create my resume, all those kinds of things. But I knew my direction. I was headed west. I was going to go up into the mountains. I was going to ski. Well, I applied at Loveland Good Samaritan. I was invited to come in for an interview. And when I ascended the hill, turned right to go down into the campus of Loveland Good Samaritan, it was sprawling. It was beautiful. The mountains were off to the west. I went down the hill and I pulled into where the administrative offices were, and there was a huge banner hanging there that said, "In Christ's love, everyone is someone." And I am not making this up. I did not skip a beat. I thought, I am going to work here. I didn't think about skiing anymore at that point. I knew I was going to work there. Now, lucky for me, they actually hired me. So that helped a little bit. Here I am all these years later. As much as I thought I was going to plot out my own direction, God had a plan for me. So we've talked about how, Ken and I have talked about how he uses his compass to navigate, to guide him as he hikes. But God is truly leading each of us in all of our endeavors. I've heard sermons and devotions over the years so many times that say, listen to God, hear the voice of God. And I'd think, I'm listening, but I don't hear anything. Or people would say, I've heard God speak directly to me, and this is what he said. And I would think, oh my gosh, maybe there's something wrong with me. I'm not listening hard enough. I'm not devout enough for God to speak directly to me. But honestly, the more I think about it now, I think I was wrong. I think I was thinking too literally. I was waiting to hear God's voice telling me what the appropriate path was. But when I look back in retrospect, there are numerous times that God has led me, has spoken to me, and I didn't even realize it. Was God's hand in having me apply to Loveland Good Samaritan? Absolutely. Did God speak to me through the "In Christ's love, everyone is someone" banner that was hanging in front of the building? Sure, he did. Has the mission of the Good Samaritan spoken to me in 1987? Since 1987, taking me through multiple positions and experiences and relationships with people? Sure it has. The pull of the mission of the Good Samaritan Society in my life is greater than the pull of due north of the compass. So I may not normally wear a compass like my husband does, but I have said something for years that our former president, Dr. Mark Jerstead, used to say. I unabashedly wear the mission of the Good Samaritan Society on my sleeve, and I hope you do too. I hope that you look at the ways that God has directed your path and allow yourself to be led by the voice of God in your work. Every day is not necessarily fun. You may be working on things that don't give you a lot of fulfillment. Maybe some of your coworkers are kind of crabby at times, or if you're in the field, maybe some of the residents are kind of crabby some of the times. Or maybe your boss doesn't quite appreciate you in the way that you hoped. But one of the things that you might do that I have done for years is I say to myself, the mission is bigger than all of this. The mission is bigger than all of this. So think about your direction. Remember where I began. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. God bless and have a great day.